Victorian man died from multiple stab wounds after being attacked in North Terrace. 4 people were arrested at Adelaide Airport trying to fly back to Victoria, including a 17-year-old who's been charged with murder. A total of 17 people have now been arrested and charged with various offences, including aggravated affray. Acting Assistant Commissioner John DeCandia says it's not a random incident and is linked to feuding gangs of Sudanese youth.
They're not your normal, typical criminal gang. So it's a bit difficult to confirm exactly what their numbers are and what their structure is. There's been a wide variety of things that they've been doing, but our focus is on that. It's on the criminality of them.
The Prime Minister says he won't canvass what Australia would do if China builds a military base in our region. Concerns are growing Beijing will develop a naval base on the Solomon Islands after signing a security pact with the Pacific nation. Australia and the US say they won't accept the move, warning there will be consequences, but Scott Morrison won't expand on what they are.
It would not be responsible for me to be speculating in public about what Australia, the United States and others would be doing in circumstances such as that. That would not be in Australia's national interest to do so any more than it would be in the United States' national interest to do that either, or the interests of regional security.
The world's richest man has bought Twitter in a deal worth $44 billion US. Elon Musk says he wants to make Twitter better with new features, change algorithms, defeat spam bots and authenticate all humans. Brian Stelter from CNN says at the end of the day it's a platform to communicate, whether you're a world leader or a university student.
As a way for politicians and, as you said, celebrities to communicate and get messages out. It is important. It is a utility in that way. If you're in public life, it feels like a requirement rather than something you enjoy, rather than a leisure activity. Maybe Elon Musk can change all that. I think if you're a Twitter user, you don't go quit your account. You go and see what he does next. It's going to be really, really interesting to see.
Now tuning to 5AA Sport.
Save time and fuel. The best ladies' clothes are at Leslie's of Gawler, 100 Murray Street, Gawler.
Collingwood has suffered a massive injury blow. Jordan Tunbridge has the details.
Brodie Grundy clashed knees with Sam Draper during a centre bounce at the MCG yesterday. The Magpies' ruck limped off but managed to play out the game, helping his side to a win over the Bombers. Despite saying he would be fine during post-match interviews, scans have since confirmed a PCL injury. Grundy will see a specialist this week, but is expected to be sidelined for between 10 and 12 weeks.
The NBA season is over for Boomers captain Patty Mills in the first round of the playoffs. Brooklyn was clean swept by Boston, going down 116 to 112 in Game 4. An 18-year-old Mexican, Carlos Alcaraz, has become the youngest player to reach the top 10 of the men's tennis rankings since Rafael Nadal in 2005. Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Parkholme, there's a smash on Oaklands Road near Marion Road, just past the shopping centre as you're heading towards the beach. Dry Creek collision on the Wingfield interchange on-ramp near the Port River Expressway. Broadview burst Watermain today. Hampstead Road near Muller Road, lane restrictions in both directions, speeds are 25. And we're busy Henley Beach Road, East Street to South Road. Cameras, Jetty Road, Brighton and Springbank Road at Colonel Light Gardens. Need new flooring, blinds or rugs? Earn triple Qantas points at Carpet Court. That's across all carpet, hard flooring, blinds and rugs. Triple Qantas points on now at Carpet Court. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast, a shower or two this afternoon, 22, partly cloudy tomorrow, 23. Thursday mostly sunny, 27, and Friday much the same, a top of 22. Right now it's 20 degrees. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
In 9 News today, desperate moves to stem the deadly violence between Adelaide's African youth gangs. Exclusive, see the fallout of COVID chaos in our prisons. Masks to stay in schools, will tell you why. Only on 9, the moment firefighters rescue a brave little Adelaide girl from a drain. Plus thousands in savings, our 9 News cost of living special. I'm Kate Collins, see the full story on 9 News Tonight at 6.
$13.95, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Leith Forest.
Nice to have your company 6 minutes after 3 on this Tuesday, sitting in for Jade Robrin. Why on earth you would head to the 5AA live stream on Facebook or YouTube is beyond me, because I'm here and Jade isn't. But we do want to thank the Cancer Council of SA, who are proudly supporting our live stream. Now, look, tune in, laugh and point, and then tune out. I'll tell you what you should do, though. From 4 o'clock, you can see Rowey, who'll be here, Sam Tugwell sitting in for me because I'm sitting in for Jade, Tim Ginniver will be here, this being a Tuesday, and also Cornsey. So plenty of chance for you on the live stream with Facebook and YouTube. And again, thank you to the Cancer Council SA. I'm just sorry, if Brooklyn could just move that camera back a little. She loves a close shot. This is not a close shot kind of face, I'm afraid. The Premier, Peter Malinauskas, today announced the decision. The Emergency Management Council met. High school students will wear masks in school for the first 4 weeks of Term 2. The Education Minister is Blair Boyer. He joins me. Minister, thank you for your time.
No worries, Lee. Thanks for having me.
For what it's worth, I think it's the right decision.
Oh, that's worth quite a bit. It's not always a politician gets to hear that when they're being interviewed on the radio, so thank you.
So the mask wearing will not be mandatory in the primary schools. I guess it is difficult with children of that age, but you're recommending that. But obviously with the high school kids, and you're doing things with the purifiers, etc., if you can walk us through that to sort of curb the spread that we've got at the moment in schools.
That's exactly right. And yes, the settings for primary schools are staying the same. So for years 3 to 6, it's not mandatory, it's optional. And I've got 3 daughters who go to public primary school myself, and I've, like many parents have, I've had the kind of sometimes hilarious, sometimes excruciating conversations with them explaining what the virus is and why they might need to have a mask. So that's a bit tricky, but that will remain as optional. But for years 7 to 12 and for staff, it will be mandatory. And we are saying 4 weeks, and then hopefully at the end of the 4-week period, we'll be able to relax that. But just, first of all, to give us time to make sure that we don't find ourselves back in a situation, Leith, where we were before the school holidays, where we had to send classes and sometimes whole schools home for remote learning, because that's a really bad outcome. But like you said, we're also doing a few things, sort of preventative measures. So completing the ventilation works in classrooms. So that there was a big audit of sites, more than 900 sites, that showed about 652 of them needed work. Now that might be making sure windows that couldn't be opened can be opened, fixing fly screens where there weren't fly screens. And because a lot of our classroom stock is quite old, it's actually pretty tricky in some cases to do that work. We've also purchased an additional 1,000 air purifiers on top of the 4,050 that we currently have. And so we'll be rolling those out into classrooms where we can't achieve natural ventilation. And the comments that Professor Spurrier has made and the trial that we ran, or the previous government ran, of ventilation at Norwood Primary School show that there can be a role for air purifiers in school settings where we can't get natural ventilation. So that will help address that. And we're also establishing vaccination hubs at 40 schools to target the 5 to 11-year-old age group, because disappointingly, I have to say, Lee, it's only 38% of that age group have had their second dose.
Wow.
It's low. So 58% have had their first, and only 38% have had their second. I took mine girls out to the Northern Vaccination Hub in Elizabeth to get their second one. I can tell you it is dead simple to book, and the way they have been cared for there on both occasions has been magnificent. They're young, they're 6 and 8. They're not fond of needles, and they didn't understand why they needed it. But for any parents out there who might have any hesitancy at all about getting their kid back, we have those settings, but we're going to be adding 40 vaccination hubs at schools, probably targeting schools in the local government areas that have lower rates of vaccination.
So, Minister, my kids are 13 and 11. They're both double jabbed. They both had no real side effects at all, to be honest. I don't think my daughter even had a sore arm. So it's not, the scary monster that people sometimes think vaccination is for these kids. It's funny. So when you announce this, that you're going to keep the mask for another 4 weeks, there's always this faux outrage from people who don't have a dog in the fight. They think, hang on, other schools and other states, they've all got rid of masks. Why are we not following the same? I'm living it with my kids at school. I'm on governing council for my primary school and my high school. I see the stress that these schools are under, and I think I don't think it's a huge sacrifice for another few weeks to protect. And Michael sent in a text message. He's a teacher, saying that many of his colleagues have had COVID, but he's avoided it. It's been a hard year so far. The mask has protected him from infection, so in no hurry to get rid of them. Is that the overwhelming thing you're hearing from the education department?
It absolutely is, and I couldn't put it better than the way you put it just then. And of course, I should mention that that the masks are there to protect our kids, but to protect our staff as well. We know that staff are exposed in the classroom with kids, but we also know that if kids get it, as it's spread in classrooms, they take it home. And if the kids become COVID positive, then mum or dad, or mum and dad, potentially if they catch it too, have to stay at home and withdraw from their jobs. So, the ripple effects of higher rates of transmission in schools is really, really significant. And you're right. Now, wearing masks, in this case for 4 weeks, then we'll review it again, is a really small practical step that we can take to protect everyone in our community.
What's the logistics of these 1,000 air purifiers? Like, is this turnkey go? Can you get them out of schools as of tomorrow, or is there a little lag time?
A little lag time, but they are basically plug and go, so to speak. I was actually down in the southeast last week and went into a little area school called Allendale East, and I asked the principal there, come and show me one of the air purifiers you're using so I can make sure I have a decent idea of how they function. They are, sort of plug and go or plug and play. So we're buying 1,000. I'm pretty sure that 700 have already been secured or procured, so ready to go, and we can get them out to sites very quickly. So we'll see those rolled out immediately, basically.
Good spot, Allendale, just out of the mountain, about half an hour from God's country down there in Millicent. So,
I grew up in Portland, so I would agree with you, Lee.
There you go,
I am
Mighty
very fond of
Tigers.
the area myself.
So you'll revisit this in 4 weeks' time. What's the plan between now and then?
That's correct. So we'll review in 4 weeks' time, and touch wood and fingers crossed that by that stage we're in a position where we can say we don't need them. But what we'll do in that 4 weeks, Leith, is get this work done around purifiers out, more of the remediation works on those 652 sites to make sure wherever we possibly can we get natural ventilation in classrooms, get these vaccination hubs at 40 schools up and running so we can get that vaccination rate, particularly amongst the 5 to 11-year-olds, up. We'll look at, I guess, where our cases more broadly across the state are tracking, and then we'll make a decision based on all that advice in 4 weeks' time. But I have my fingers crossed for a good outcome.
Just on that, the vaccination, do you think people have got a bit lax with it? People thought, restrictions are easing, and we've got a good number, and we're allowed back at the footy. Do you think that parents are just saying, the kids will be fine, they've had one shot, don't worry about the two?
I think that's right, and lots of them have probably had COVID too. I certainly don't think that, looking at the 58% of kids 5 to 11 have had one shot and 38% have had two. I certainly don't put that hesitancy down to people being anti-vaccination in any way. I think, like you said, in many cases there's just an example that they think that maybe it's not needed now, or they might have had COVID or been exposed, or we're past the worst and it's not as important as it was. So we want to get out there with the message, and it's important that people like you tell the story you just told about your kids' experience, and I do the same with mine. Easy to book, really quick, not hard for the kids, and it's an easy, practical thing we can all do to look after each other.
Minister, the other thing is that grandparents are listening to the show, people that may not have kids are listening to the show and thinking, but how difficult is it? Well, I can tell you firsthand. So my daughter, they had to close 3 of the classrooms there because they got huge numbers. My wife and I are lucky. We're ships in the night. We sort of cross paths and the kids aren't alone too much by themselves, but it's really difficult for parents who aren't able to be there with their kids. My son's school, they had a grade each day, miss a day so that the teachers could cover. They had 30 teachers and SSOs unavailable, people that haven't taught in the school who are amazing. Don't get me wrong. They haven't taught for 10 years. They're now teaching classes because they're so short.
That's exactly right. The impact that we had, Leith, in those last few weeks of Term 1 particularly was really, really serious. Sending large secondary schools out on remote learning where teachers and principals have been reporting to us. I've met with a couple since, principals of schools who were sent out on remote learning to say you just don't get the same engagement from kids during remote learning, and of course you wouldn't expect to. So we don't want to face a situation where again kids are missing big chunks of their education when we could put a simple practical step like keeping masks for a few weeks in place just to make sure that things have settled down before we take that next step.
Yep. They deserve knighthoods and sainthoods too, the teachers. I follow some of the chat going on in those classes. Holy moly.
And they are, you're dead right, Lee. And can I say that they are, as I'm sure you've seen, you're in the governing council at your kids' school, which is fantastic. They are worn out. The workforce is worn out. They've been operating at a heightened state of, anxiety and all that kind of stuff for more than 2 years. And that's not a natural situation to be in. And I want to say again that they have our undying respect for staying there at the coalface teaching our kids, particularly, during lockdowns and other periods when it was really bad, Leith, where other people did have the option to work from home, but our teachers didn't. They stayed there. So I know they've won an incredible amount of respect from the public, which is well deserved.
Just picture the digital version of every kid putting their hand up. Oh, teacher, this link doesn't work, and good morning, and then the kids talking. It's a nightmare for them. So the sooner they're all in the classrooms together, the better. Thanks so much, Minister. Appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Blair Boyer is the Education Minister. So high school students required to wear masks first 4 weeks of term 2. Not mandatory in primary schools, but it is recommended. 1,000 air purifiers purchased by the government at a value of $530,000. 3,463 new cases today. 7 more passing away, sadly, and that's devastating for the families there. 254 in hospital, 10 in ICU, and 1 on a ventilator. And a lot of people are saying, do we open too early? Well, on the flip side, people are saying, well, we should be following what every other state is doing. Here's the thing. We need to look after our teachers. We need to look after our health staff. So get as many kids as you can back in school because that's better for everyone. But let's do it. It's only a mask. They've been wearing them. A couple of extra weeks won't hurt them. You can have your say on that. We'll get to all the other issues of the day next. Emails, SMS and calls galore, 18 after 3.
You've selected your block up on the York Peninsula, and now you just want to be there every weekend. Selector Homes have been building transportable homes for over 25 years. They have a huge range of designs and, importantly, their team really listen and are totally flexible with design options. You're not only selecting a fixed price with no hidden costs, you're selecting the best weekends ever. Selector Homes and Building Solutions Display Village, Port Wakefield Road, Burton. Visit selectorhomes.com.au.
Breaking news at Beaumont's. As well as Australia's biggest range of tiles, Beaumont's now has a range of quality hybrid flooring. Get stunning hybrid timber look or make an impression with magnificent hybrid stone look. With our new quality flooring options, you'll be happy you chose Beaumont's.
Well, our pets are such a comfort to some of us. They are clearly part of the... What do you mean part of the family? They are the family. You can show them your care. Head into your local Cheapest Chips for amazing catalogue deals that are out tomorrow, this Wednesday. Loads of great deals. The new Oxford Large Pet Sofa, just $99, or you can check out the portable Pet Steps for $35. That's a saving of $5. Call into your nearest Cheapest Chips. Grab the Melanie Cat Scratcher. It is like a theme park for your cats. Just $115. You'll save $20 there, or you can pick up the enclosed cat toilet for $40. Also, while you're there, the orthopedic pet bed is just $69, or an 8-kilo bag of Chum dry dog food. That's a hot buy itself for $20.99. Get into your local Cheapest Tips for amazing catalogue deals out tomorrow, Wednesday. Everything you need for the furry one that you love in your family. Pets live cheaper every day at Cheapest Chips.
If you were to come into an aged care facility and see what I see every day, you'd be heartbroken, you'd be disgusted, and you'd want to make a change too, because our residents deserve more.
It's disgusting that you haven't done your job and fixed staff ratios in aged care, Mr. Morrison. Vote to make aged care staff ratios law and help Samantha and her colleagues provide the best care for our elderly loved ones. Authorised by Elizabeth DeBars, Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation, SA Branch Adelaide.
Hi, Bronte Manuel from Toop and Toop. Recently, we've achieved suburb record prices in Toorak Gardens, Colonel Art Gardens and Woodville Park. That's industry-leading results right across Adelaide. Could your home be the next record breaker? Go to toop.com.au.
When you build a house, it's what's inside that matters. And that's why starting with steel is a smart choice to protect your most valuable investment. My mates at Weeks have always been the experts in steel frames. They've built thousands of homes for South Aussies, precision-engineered Superlock steel frames, providing you with more certainty and your home with more strength and durability. So make the smart choice when building a new home. Start with a steel frame, and you'll enjoy more peace of mind for years to come. Discover different with Weeks Homes.
Hey, it's Callum here. Whether you're buying your first Mazda, trading your old vehicle, or getting your car serviced, take it from me. You cannot go wrong with the team at Edwardstown Mazda. edwardstownmazda.com.au.
It's gotta be
LNVD 207428.
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Leith Forest.
21 minutes after 3, sitting in for Jade Robin. If you're watching our live stream, Facebook and also YouTube for the Cancer Council SA, you'll see me shaking my head. Just move the camera back a little bit more, Brooklyn. I don't understand some of our listeners. I'll be brutally honest. It makes you just want to pull your hair out. So let me just read a couple of these that have come through. Pete said, Leith, you don't have any concerns about your kids' health in the future from being vaccinated. You're from the country. What do sheep do when one decides to do something? When did we become like this? When did people become so, I don't know, flat-earthing, tin hats? When did all that kind of stuff? There was another email before, saying, shame on you for giving your kid the vaccination. What's going to happen to them in late? Has this always been the way? Like, is this something that we've just woken up to now because of this pandemic? Or have people always been saying, well, don't get the TB shot and, hey, don't get the polio shot? Like, was the FIVEAA talkback of that era filled with far-right conspiracy-believing lunatics, like the people that email in and text in? And that's a real small minority. But there are people that just refuse to believe the health advice of these people who are saying, get vaxxed because it will help save your life. Look at the numbers in hospitals of the people vaxxed versus unvaxxed. So, Pete, thank you for the text. Of course, I do what I'm told, and when health professionals who have studied this for years and are experts in this field say, you know what, get your kids vaccinated, it'll save them, I do it. I don't think, oh, gee, I read something on the internet. I'm not going to get my kids vaccinated, send them to school and see how they go. I just wonder when that happened. Is that a new thing? Is that a COVID thing? Or has it always been like that? Pete's a Parallel. He wants to speak about Anzac Day. Hi, Pete.
How you going?
Good, thanks.
We've got similar things with Canada, and Canada's got Canadian Day, or Canada Day. And back in 1996, they had National Indigenous Day. So they gave the Native or the First Nation their own day. And I think that's what we need to do. Instead of sharing it with Anzac Day or Australia Day or whatever, right, we should have our own Indigenous Day or First Nation Day. Okay?
So, would you scrap Australia Day, though?
No, the thing is, just using this, I'm not Aboriginal or anything like that. So say it's up to their committee, to work it out, but say Mabo Day, which was the 3rd of June, right?
Yep.
So you get rid of the Queen's birthday, which is Queen Victoria, not Queen Elizabeth II, okay? So which is on the 13th of the June. So you replace the Queen's birthday, which they don't actually celebrate in England.
Correct.
By the way.
It's not her day, yes. Which is, yep.
Yeah, so you replace that with the Mabo Day, which was the recognition of native title.
Sure.
So you give them that, and then it's up to the federal government and the committee from Aboriginal and Torres Strait, Island, to work out a day and whatever. But that will be the easiest way. That way, the whole of Australia can have a public holiday off to recognise the First Nation. Okay?
I agree.
Way we're not sharing anything.
Yep. No, I agree with that. The only problem with that, though, Peter, is you're still celebrating a day that is considered the worst day in our First Nations culture. So why would you celebrate that with a party? Hey, great for us, horrible for you. Let's have a party. That's why I like Rex's idea, because Anzac Day is universally respected by all. Nobody has a problem with Anzac Day because of what it represents and what it stands for. And people are texting in saying, hang on, you can't celebrate in the afternoon. It's a solemn day. It is solemn. And it's solemn in the morning. What do you think people are doing in the afternoons, though? It's not a solemn day all day. It might be for some people who've lost loved ones. I understand that. 90,000 are going to the MCG. People are going to SNFL matches. People are doing whatever they do. The city is alive with street parties. You can have them both. Thank you. Appreciate the call. Dave from South Brighton before we get to the news. Hey, Dave.
Yeah, Leith, how you going?
Good, thank you.
I don't believe we should share the 2 days. I'm fully aware of the need to end the divisiveness with Australia Day as it is. However, Anzac Day should be a standalone day because I don't want that day to become divided, which inevitably it will if you blend the two together. That's just my opinion on that. And as for the other thing, you were saying, when did all these people start ringing up with social media, mate? That's the only thing that educates people these days. unfortunately. You know, I had an apprentice say to me one day, he said, I love Google, you don't have to know so much. And this is an apprentice electrician. And I said, well, what would you do if you wouldn't have if your computer didn't work or your phone didn't work? He said, I'd stay home. And he was deadly serious.
I just don't get it. Now, again, I was young at the time when all the vaccinations were around the first. Were there the same kind of issues then, or is because social media is out now, we're hearing more of these opinions?
Well, I'm old enough to remember getting lots of vaccinations and needles in me back when I was a kid.
Of course.
And I can't recall ever really questioning that because I didn't know anything about it.
Me neither.
I haven't had any adverse reactions that I know of that I can put down to any vaccination.
God, Dave, how many vaccinations did we have to get when we went overseas to various countries? They said, oh, hey, can you get the malaria shot? And all of a sudden you did, hey, what are you putting in my body? I'm not having this malaria. Yeah. That never happened.
Yeah. In my line of work, I have to have flu shot every year, no matter what. That's been going for quite a few years. And obviously I've had to have the vaccinations for I go to a lot of aged care places.
Yep.
So they're not allowed in with all that. And ironically, and I'll just give you a thing now with aged care, my mum, who is fully vaccinated in aged care, has been tested positive on the weekend. So, vaccination, and then everyone's, oh, well, I told you shouldn't have got it. But hey, at the moment, she's just got a bit of a sniffle.
Correct.
She's 88 years old. How do I know how she would have coped otherwise?
Dave, but this is what people don't understand. Just getting the vaccination doesn't mean you won't get COVID. It's a good chance of keeping you out of hospital, though. That's what the vaccinations are all about. But it's just, when did people become so mistrusting? When did people become so that far aside that, God, they're happy to get tattoos and God knows what's in the ink that you do that. Half the food that we eat now, who knows what's in that? Oh, hang on, a doctor's telling me I should take this and I'll be healthy. Nah.
Ray White, big name in real estate, but also the biggest name in business broking. What makes us big? Our people, like Brett Buckley and his team. MBA, lecturer, and multi-time SA Business Broker of the Year. Brett doesn't just read a P&L, he feels it. If you're selling or expanding your business, Brett can take your business apart and find you more money. And we're not talking small change. Go on, touch base with Brett. Search Ray White Business Sales SA.
Mini Jumbuck, Australia's favourite wool bedding products. Now located in McLaren Vale, Mini Jumbuck has a great range of quality Australian-made wool bedding products to suit all sleepers and all climates. You'll love their extensive range of Australian-made quilts, mattress toppers and pillows too. And remember, Mini Jumbuck McLaren Vale also stock a huge range of genuine sheepskin Ugg boots and quality merino wool clothing. For Australia's favourite wool products, call into Mini Jumbuck McLaren Vale, open 7 days.
Get in here, it's Sheeds. We don't have the time to mess around, we can't afford any more downtime, and we need a result. It's about trust, and for hydraulic hose repairs, Ryco 24/7 are the ones. They'll get to you wherever you are. Their vans are on the road with fully qualified repairers, and they are supported by that other great South Australian team, BL Shipway, who I've known for over 30 years. Call Ryco 24/7 on 133247 or visit ryco247.com.au.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability, get world-leading safety, and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage for sales, service, and hire. Get a Toyota forklift.
Every year, people get hit by serious diseases caught from mozzie bites. Mozzies may be small, but they can still be dangerous, even deadly. So protect yourself by covering up with long, loose clothing, using insect repellent, and eliminating the water mozzies breed in. Fight the bite. Cover up, repel, eliminate. For more information, visit sahealth.sa.gov.au/fightthebite or call your local council. A message from the Government of South Australia.
The Barossa Valley is a great place to visit. You have history, wine, great food, nature, wine, What if you had one extra draw card? Your parents. Retirement units are available in safe and connected neighbourhoods just an hour from the city. We're talking about newly renovated 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes from around 180k to 300k. They get the vine change and you get another reason to visit the Barossa. Win-win. Talk to your parents today about Barossa Village. Find out more at barossavillage.org. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Michaela Kamarek. SA high school students will have to keep wearing face masks for at least 4 more weeks when school goes back. Police are still hunting for a third male involved in a fatal CBD stabbing early yesterday morning. Rideshare company Uber has admitted to misleading consumers over trip cancellation warnings, and Collingwood ruckman Brodie Grundy will be sidelined for a large chunk of the season with a knee injury. A shower or two this afternoon, 22. Right now it's 20 degrees. More news at 4 o'clock and as it happens on 5AA.
1395, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Leith Forest.
28 minutes to 3. 28 minutes to 4. Feels like that sometimes, reading these text messages. Pete said about my children's health. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate the nice words. Leslie, you might enjoy Mental Immunity by Andy Norman. Thank you for that. This one's a good one before we get to my special guest. Leith, you are a lefty station. You are simply towing the line because you want to keep your job. Everyone realises that. Cheers, Patrick. Patrick, what are you talking about? Who do you think's getting into the ear of our boss to tell us, oh, you better be pro-vaccine, you better be pro-purifiers in schools and kids wearing masks and teachers not being overwhelmed? Who do you think? Is it the Premier? Is it Professor Spurrier? Is it the Police Commissioner? Are they speaking to our direct boss saying, hey, tow your people in line? Where do you come up with this? Or is it higher above? Are we going above that? Federal politics? Or is it getting in the sort of, Bill Gates areas? What are you talking about? It's common sense, surely. Patrick, thank you for the call, though. Appreciate the 55 cents you spent on that text message. I think, without generalising, here's the thing I think about this, and it works in beautifully with my next guest. I think people have had these views forever, but with social media we now hear them. And some people, I don't think we need to hear their views. However, that's what Twitter is all about, and Twitter has a new owner. Jennifer Dudley-Nicholson is the National Technology Editor for News Corp. Jennifer, lovely to have you on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Elon Musk has bought Twitter for $44 billion US, 61.3 billion Australian. Is this a good thing?
That is a great question, and it depends who you ask. It seems like there's lots of nervous people around about this one because it's not entirely clear which way this will go.
So he's decided to shake it up, I guess, because he's not happy with the free speech on Twitter. That'll be the big change. Is that going to lead to the Wild West, do you think?
I think that's almost what he wants to have happen. Elon Musk is an interesting guy. He's the world's richest man. He's got a lot of money at his disposal, so he can be spending money on social networks, I suppose. But he's also kind of a loose cannon. And so one of the things he said in the past that, as you say, he's really into free speech. He's a free speech absolutist, he calls himself. And so he doesn't believe that people who are even trolling other people should be taken off the service, which is not what Twitter has traditionally done. So absolutely, it could become the Wild West. There might be fewer controls. There might be even more aggression on Twitter, which could be interesting and terrible to see. And I think that's what most concerns people.
Jennifer, Twitter is great. I'm sure you use it for work every day. We use it for work every day. If you use it for its good purpose, it is an amazing tool. On the flip side, if you go down the rabbit warren, it can just be a cesspool. I'm fascinated to see where it falls, and I was interested to follow this story thinking, gee, are the Twitter people and the board of Twitter going to hold on to it for the greater good and say, nope, we're not just going to give it to anyone because they have, fat pockets? Or is the money just so ridiculous and too good to refuse that when someone throws $61 billion at you, you just take it?
It's really tricky to say. I mean, no one's ever thrown $61 billion at my way, so it's hard to say from a personal basis, but I think, yes, it was definitely very tricky for them to turn down, and there was sort of reports early on that there was going to be sort of this poison pill defence, and they were going to reject the plan to take over Twitter, with, I think, some hesitation around what Musk might actually do with it. It certainly seems like the founder of Twitter is quite keen on it. He was tweeting earlier today some Radiohead songs that kind of indicated that he was happy. He tweeted a song called "Everything in Its Right Place" by Radiohead.
Okay.
But maybe that was just him getting revenge on the board because they booted him out of the CEO's position quite recently. So yeah, I think that it'll be really interesting to see, which direction this goes.
It was interesting. I saw Elon talk about a couple of the things that he wanted to change. So he wanted to defeat the spam bots, which if anyone's on Twitter, you'll just know that they're pretty obvious and easy to identify. So that would be a good thing. That gets a tick. Human authentication, which I like too. Again, you try and weed out people who are doing it for the wrong. New features are nice. An edit button, Jennifer, would be nice. All of us have been guilty of sending off a tweet where it's got a spelling mistake or, the wrong person's been sort of tagged in the tweet. So that's a good thing too. But it's the free speech platform. I mean, I don't know. Lawyers will have a field day of it. There's enough hatred and misinformation on there now. Imagine if it's just a free-for-all.
Well, that's it. And I think, we're already seeing political candidates get in trouble for things that they've tweeted in the past, even if they've deleted their Twitter accounts. There's certainly been a lot of different lawsuits back and forth about, defamatory issues from things that are happening on Twitter. Free speech does have its limits. And I think those limits should be around disinformation and misinformation as well. I think Twitter has in the past put in some mechanisms to try to help that and to try to, at least allow people to report that information, particularly as it pertains to health, because those sorts of things can have a really harmful effect on people. And so if we're seeing, certain people behind bots must be rubbing their hands at this. Because I don't know if you can defeat the spam bots and then say there's free speech. Do the bots have free speech as well?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a lot more difficult that maybe he has originally judged to kind of tackle these issues. And you mentioned around authentication as well. That's something that was discussed as a possibility in some Australian legislation before. But then there's the question of, as a person, do you want to hand over your state ID to a company in America so that they can have a look at it and it's potentially out there and can be hacked in future? They all sort of raise a lot of issues. And so I think it's going to be a wild ride.
The big question too, and it always seems to come back to this man for one reason or another, will Donald Trump return to the platform?
At the moment, he's saying no. At the moment, he's saying that he's finally going to join the actual social network that he set up called Truth, believe it or not, that he set up because he was kicked off Twitter. He's saying that he won't rejoin Twitter after this. But I think that if he's allowed back on the platform, I don't think he'd say no. Yeah. So that's one to watch. But my money is on, yes, he'll probably be back.
Appreciate your time, Jennifer. Do you think more people will jump on? Do you think people will jump off? For you and I that use it every day in a work sense, do you think life will change drastically for us?
I think there'll be a lot of threats for people to leave, but unless they actually start charging people to be there, I think we'll all still be here talking about it in a year's time.
Oh, good, yeah. Paywall. If all of a sudden you have to pay for Twitter, would you go on?
I probably would, just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
But millions and millions would not.
I'm a bit tight. I'll get work to pay. Hey, Jennifer, thanks so much for your time. It's going to be a fascinating watch. Well done to the Twitter people. They got their money. You can understand why they took it, but let's just see. Elon's done some good things, but as you say, he's a bit of a loose cannon at times, so we'll find out if this is a good or a bad thing in short time, I'm sure. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All the best. Jennifer Dudley-Nicholson, the National Tech Editor for News Limited. Twitter have a new boss, Elon Musk, and that's some sort of payday, is it not? Could you imagine? So the board were offered some cash and they said, yep, we'll take it. $44 billion. $61.3 billion. It is a takeover bid. I think some of that money is going to be financing from securities and different banks and lenders and some of his Tesla shares, and the rest he'll cover himself because he's got plenty of it. But if you're a Twitter user and you've got a thought, have your say, 8223 0000. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Good luck with free speech. Holy moly. I mean, go in there now. So we have different accounts at work. We have work accounts for news. We have sporting accounts. You have your private accounts and stuff. But if you ever just go down that rabbit hole and just see what some of the people are saying, make your head spin. Debbie from South Plympton, how are you?
Oh, gee, good. It sounds like you've been looking at what the Chinese government have done in the Solomon Islands. Anyway, I had to laugh. I don't know how to use those other platforms, Twitter and Snapchat and all that, so I don't often comment. I'll do a lot of looking.
Okay.
And then people think because I have no followers, I'm a troll account. It's bizarre. Anyway.
Are you an egg? Do you have a proper, have you got a proper name? Are you calling yourself Debbie
yes, Yes, it's my name.
Yep.
It's not fake, stupid like a lot of things are.
Yep.
But yeah, because I
Princess
don't...
Sparkle
and I don't
59 or something. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't care to have followers because I have a life. So, you know, I don't care that I have no followers. But because I didn't have followers, they were trying to call me a troll or a bot or something. I don't even know. But I made... For once, I commented on something and people were sort of saying about, everyone's jumping on a bandwagon of not liking so-and-so. And all my comment was, no bandwagon here, meaning I'm not on any bandwagon. I just don't like that for whatever reason.
Sure.
And then I had all these people. One specific person went to the trouble of finding like some sort of cartoon meme of this weird-looking worm who said, "Who cares what you've got to say?" And I'm like, are you joking me?
Yeah.
These whole platforms are built on the basis that people think others are interested in what they've got to say.
Yeah.
But I just thought, what a stupid bloody response. Like, is this the level of intelligence of Twitter people?
Well, this is what I'm saying, Debbie, and I don't want to be rude, but I think there's just stupid people in the world,
yeah,
and now they've got a voice.
I know, and I'm surprised at what you can say on Twitter, but you cannot say on Facebook. Like, I follow this cat group, and one of the girls has got a cat, a Russian blue cat, and she's called it Sputnik, right?
Right.
And she put up a post a week ago talking about her cat, and it was removed.
Yeah.
Because she said Russian blue and Sputnik. She didn't know what was going on.
Really?
I said, you used the name of a spaceship. I said, that's why they got rid of you.
Yeah.
But you can go on Twitter and say anything you like about anyone.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Debbie. We see that too sometimes with our Facebook. So, you can watch David and Will, 5AA Breakfast on Facebook. So occasionally you'll hear out of the ad breaks, you'll hear like a music bed, because that's, when you come out of the breaks. Well, within 2 seconds, the music companies are all over it, saying, hey, whoever it is, Warner or Sony, whatever it might be, you can't use that music, you're not allowed to put that on. Yet Twitter lets so much misinformation about the vaccine and about, elections and all the rest. They don't care. They're just like, and now it's going to get worse. That's, as I said to Jennifer, it will become the absolute Wild West, Twitter, which will be entertaining, I think, but I'm not sure it's great for society as a whole.
And, my 17-year-old son even says to me, what are you looking at that for, Mum? It's a cesspool. And he's 17.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
It does have its perks, and it is fun from time to time, but particularly after a footy game, it's good. I like to sort of gauge the mood and the temperature of fans because they're fairly honest and open. But again, you just have a thick skin and take it with a grain of salt. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate the call. Always lovely to speak. I'm going to get to a break. Rowey on the other side, and Rob McKnight's going to join me from TV Black Box. Footy TV could be changing. If you think you're going to get away with just Channel 7 and Fox, you might have some news coming your way. We'll find out because the AFL bosses are away. Just quickly, Tyson on the Twitter. Thanks for a great show. Some narrow-minded listeners. Australia Day's been 3 different dates so far. Let's make it a 4th and show some compassion. That way, everyone's happy. Thank you, Tyson. See? The good of Twitter.
Join David and Will each Friday on the 5AA Breakfast Show as they speak to power excitement machine Orazio Fantasia. Orazio! Thanks to Rainwise Pools. Family owned, building pools in SA for over 15 years. Google Rainwise Pools Adelaide.
Have you thought about where your face mask was made? Remember, not all face masks are made the same. So when it comes to protecting yourself and your family, think PPE Tech. 100% Australian owned and made. PPE Tech manufactures P2 face masks that comfortably seal to your face and filter more than 98% of particles. Now is the time to protect all Australians and support Aussie-made products. Order online to receive up to 40% off and free delivery at ppetech.com.au. That's ppetech.com.au.
At Lordman & Pank, we've made it even easier for you to get great value on the brands you love with simple packages across the entire collection. Right now, get a complete pair of single vision glasses from $289 and multifocal glasses are also available at package prices. You can even get 30% off your second pair when purchased from the packages range. Offer only available in selected stores. Further T&Cs and exclusions apply. See staff for details. Lordman & Pank, we care for eyes.
Booze Brothers. At Booze Brothers, you'll always find something for Mum. Make her day sparkle with Bubbles, boutique wines, small batch handmade SA gin, or a splash of pink rosé. Find it all and more in-store or online at Booze Brothers, The Umley, Avenues Tavern, Mile End Hotel, The Duck Inn, and online. Booze Brothers, making mums happy for almost 40 years. Booze Brothers.
Beat the others cold.
Breaking news at Beaumont's. As well as Australia's biggest range of tiles, Beaumont's now has a range of quality hybrid flooring. Get stunning hybrid timber look or make an impression with magnificent hybrid stone look. With our new quality flooring options, you'll be happy you chose Beaumont's.
You can do just about anything online. Buy a couch, find the love of your life, enter the cryptocurrency market. But there's one thing so important that you should never do online, and that's your will. From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, Donlan Lawyers can answer your questions and help carry out your wishes. The sort of thing you just can't do with an online will. Visit donlanlawyers.com and organise an appointment today. That's donlanlawyers.com.
Hey, it's Callum here. Looking for something small, medium or large? Edwardstown Mazda have most models in stock, ready to drive away. You can feel confident in the team at Edwardstown Mazda.
It's gotta be
edwardstownmazda.com.au, LMVD 207428.
Experience the extraordinary. Travel with Shen Yun to discover 5,000 years of wisdom, beauty, drama, and humor live on stage. You're not just watching a performance. You are witnessing a culture reborn. Come see what the modern world has never seen. The beauty and wonder of China before communism. Coming to Adelaide, 10th through the 15th of May. Festival Theatre. Book at shenyun.com or Ticketek.
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Leith Forest.
12 minutes to 4, sitting in for Jade Robberin. If you go to our Facebook or our YouTube, proudly supported by the Cancer Council of SA, you can see our live stream. Get it off me, Brooklyn, because look who's here. Stephen Rose coming up after 4 o'clock. Got a spring in his step after a great weekend from the Crows.
Earl Forrest, the man for a crisis, for all occasions. Jade out, in, Passmore, Forrest in.
Yeah.
If Michael Voss gets the bid again, I'd put your hand up. You can coach Carlton. Apparently they're your team.
Yeah.
What are they, 4-2?
They are. They've
sitting 7th?
Yeah, Mark Pitnet, I just read 2 seconds ago, who's done his medium cruciate MCL, so he's out for 2 months. That's not good news.
And Grundy's out for 12 for Collingwood.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Hey, round 6 was the Anzac round. Crows beat the Bulldogs in Ballarat. That was an outstanding win. Taylor Walker, take a bow, got over 500 goals, kicked the winning goal. He is a star. Port broke their duck. They flogged the Eagles, a hapless Eagles, the worst Eagles team I've seen in 30-odd years by 84 points. You can only beat who you play, and they've done that. Their season is away. They're 1 win, 5 losses. Need to keep it rolling. They got St Kilda in Cairns. Likely to be wet. They need to do that to keep the Ken haters in their little box. Speak to Crows, Port teams, Timmy G, Bix and Stud. Big show. We'll see you at 4-0 Passmore.
Looking forward to it. Can you do me one favour and ask Bix, because I know that he tore in the boys. So the boys were the mascots on the weekend, which was so great to see.
They got a lot of me time thanks to Fox.
They were all over the TV. But I heard a rumour on the weekend that at Mars Stadium in Ballarat, you can't buy a Mars bar. because I think the AFL has a deal with Cadbury.
Stop it.
Just can you ask Bix if you imagine going to a stadium named after a chocolate bar that's built in that town and you can't buy one because of a commercial agreement with the AFL?
You can get Powell's working dog, dry dog biscuits.
From us. I know Gina was trying to get a champagne. No champagne.
No champagne.
Ballarat.
You can pan for gold.
You can. It's Sovereign Hill. A lot of fun there. Thank you.
Okay.
See you at 4 o'clock.
Will we see you tomorrow or watch the
No,
story?
yeah. Just one and done. One and done. You know what it is? It's just sub-vest off. I mean, thank you. See you at 4 o'clock. Stephen Rowe, you can see him live stream very shortly on our Facebook and YouTube channel. Margaret from Parafield before we speak to Rob. Hi, Margaret.
Oh, hi, Leith. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. I just wanted to add to that what that lady was talking about in regards to Facebook. A couple of years ago, I mean, I was just really innocent doing this. I recorded my grandchildren dancing in the shed. We've got a little disco thing set up.
Yep.
And it was to a Donna Summer song. And I posted it, and I have very few friends. And I just put little snippets of what the family's doing and whatever. And the next thing you know, I got this notification saying you haven't had permission from the artist to do this. Something to do with royalties.
Yeah.
And I was so panicky, so I had to call a friend of mine who was a lot younger and say, what's going on here? And she said, yep, that's what Facebook's like. But this was just a little innocent thing with about 30 seconds of that artist's song in the background.
It's amazing, and yet other platforms just let anything go. As I said,
right.
we see it with FIVEAA Breakfast. I've seen it with various other bits and pieces. I think we got in trouble once with our live stream. Brooklyn put up a video or a photo that had been used, might have been a Socceroos win, for example. 2 seconds, Facebook took it off. Yet all of this stuff coming out of Russia and misinformation and vaccines and, that's fine.
Exactly.
It's a free-for-all.
Yep.
It's amazing. Margaret, thank you for that.
No
Appreciate
worries.
it.
Thank
Nice story. Hey, just before we get to Rob, we've got a Wallace Cinema Pass to give away. If you want to see one of the movies at Mitcham, Mount Barker or Noarlunga, sessionswallace.com.au. Lots of good movies last week of the school holidays. First caller through, 8223 0055. Love speaking to my next guest. He knows everything about the world of television from TV Black Box. Rob McKnight joins me. Afternoon, Rob.
Hey, Luke, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for coming on. So the AFL sent out an email yesterday. The AFL advised that the CEO, Gil McLachlan, the EGM of Clubs and Broadcasting, Travis Ord, Strategies, Walter Lee, and General Counsel, Andrew Dillon, have gone to the US to discuss the AFL's broadcast arrangements. And I thought, who better to speak to than your good self? Because people were speculating. Could it possibly be that we may see the American model and have television perhaps on free-to-air in Channel 7, on pay TV in Fox, and potentially on a streaming service?
The short answer is yes. Now, look, before everyone gets too worried, we have a thing called the anti-siphoning list in Australia, which means that certain sports have to play on free-to-air TV. So the AFL Grand Final, for example, will always be, well, I say always. Always is a long time. But for the moment, it will be on free-to-air TV, and that won't change. But what we've got is the other games. So as you know, Foxtel has a sports channel, Fox Footy, where the games will play, and Channel 7 airs some games as well. What this could see is the streaming services take those games from Foxtel, do them in addition to Foxtel. So we know that sport is a big driver of ratings and, for streamers, subscribers. And that's why Foxtel has the AFL and the NRL. So what's going to be interesting here is you've got streaming services with deep pockets. So we're talking about Amazon and Paramount Plus. So they're the two that have said, yes, we're interested. Amazon is Amazon Prime Video, and Paramount Plus is the owner of 10, basically. So there's this big company called Paramount. They own Paramount Plus, they own 10, and CBS in America. Now, Foxtel, obviously, through News Corp, has a lot of long-term dealings with the AFL, so they have a good relationship and their papers support the AFL. But obviously, it comes down to money. And as the AFL have been saying, costs are going up. They want more money for their rights. But on free-to-air TV, the amount of audience is going down.
Yep.
So not as many people are watching the games, which means the broadcasters aren't going to want to pay as much for those games. Even though they're the biggest thing on TV, the AFL will still get money from the likes of Channel 7 or a Channel 9, but it's what comes with those secondary games and where they end up that I think is the interesting thing for these rights from 2024.
We're going to get to news. In a word, do you think we will see, be it this broadcast arrangement or upcoming broadcast arrangements, that we will need to have free-to-air, pay television and streaming services to watch the AFL?
Not for the main games.
Okay. But
some, yes.
Oh, dear. Because if you follow football, Champions League are on Stan, FA Cup's on Paramount, Premier League's on Optus, Channel 10 has the local... it's so confusing for people. NFL's the same in the US.
None of those are as big as AFL and NRL. If the streamers want to drive subscribers, they need the AFL or NRL. They're the two biggest sports in this country.
Yep. We'll watch with interest. We'll see what they discover over in the US, and we'll find out if life is going to change for us. But you would just say, just temper it at the moment, Rob. People don't need to worry about making sure they've got all the other streaming services.
No, from 2024, you may just have to move from Foxtel to one of these streaming services to watch every game of AFL.
Okay. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much, Rob.
Always, mate.
All the best. Rob McKnight, TV Black Box. Look online, anything to do with television. The man knows his stuff. Great to follow on social media too. That just eases some fears for people who thought that maybe you might going to have NFL, ESPN, CBS, NBC, Amazon's now got one, Fox have got one. Good luck finding your team. Got to go. Stephen Rowe next with the Sports Show. Sam Tugwell in the chair. Big show coming up. Bix, Timmy and Cornsey. See you tomorrow.
The 5AA live stream gives you a seat in the studio each morning with David and Will for breakfast, and also each afternoon with Jade